if you understand coding and then understand a certain model or build a certain model that you understand that codes in a similar fashion to how you code, then you have the ability to code more quickly and code more accurately than, say, an AI bot that's just, a general AI bot. So it's really, again, it's about specializing. So whatever that may be, wherever your expertise is, then creating something or understanding how that bot codes and then being able to spot the problems. A lot of using AI is about figuring out where that eye typically screws up because AI screw up all the time.
Today, we are pleased to be with one of my good friends, Dr. Aaron Stewart. He's a global entrepreneur, seasoned business strategist, and a professor of technology management at Utah Valley University, where they are building out a curriculum focused on artificial intelligence. Pretty amazing. He has a career that spans working in over 50 countries and has founded multiple million-dollar ventures. Dr. Stewart has dedicated his life to exploring how education and entrepreneurship can uplift communities, especially in underdeveloped parts of the world. Beyond the classroom, Dr. Stewart has built powerful automation tools, advised Fortune 100 companies, and helped thousands of business owners scale with cutting-edge technology and marketing systems. We couldn't be happier to have him here today on our podcast. So thank you and welcome, Dr. Stewart.
I am completely embarrassed. But yeah, thanks, Jacob. It's good to be here. Yeah, thank you.
So Warren, you've met Aaron before. Good friend of mine. And Aaron, you're teaching at Utah Valley University?
I am. Yep.
And what's the major? You were telling me that you have like a new major or a program of study that you're kind of pioneering or at least involved in. So what is that?
Yeah, so yeah, I'm just part of the department that's creating it. But yeah, we're offering a master's degree in applied artificial intelligence. And so that actually starts up this semester, fall semester. So um, we have been teaching, in our courses. I teach in the technology management department. So we have been teaching about artificial intelligence for a bit in the department. But yeah, we're offering a master's degree, and it's one of the first in Utah, and so we're pretty excited about it, and sort of under direction from the legislature of Utah to kind of stay on the cutting edge. And so yeah, I've got some really strong faculty members in artificial intelligence, and so yeah, we're just trying to work this thing up, and it looks like we'll have a couple cohorts this upcoming fall, and it's pretty exciting. So yeah.
That is cool. So like a lot of us, I know that you've gotten involved with using AI kind of on a regular daily basis, right? So, and you're a longtime entrepreneur. So what are some ways that you view this technology kind of transforming the internet? Because I know you a little bit, and I remember one of the stories that has kind of stuck with me is early on, I think it was when fax machines are new or word processors were new, you were going to law offices and being an entrepreneur and helping them like print off things and use word processors in the first iteration. So where are those opportunities now with artificial intelligence?
Yeah, and we get a lot of questions from students now that are worried. They're paying this money to go to school and they're going to graduate, and then, oh my gosh, AI is just going to take every job opportunity out there. So they're terrified, really. And we don't blame them because a lot of the media does sort of portray that. But the opportunity really is learning AI to assist you in what you're doing. Okay. So if you can show to an employer that you are leveraging AI and the capabilities of AI to help you be better at what your job is, what your job description is, then you're always going to be in a very good position to find a really good job and be ahead of those that have chosen to, bury their head in the sand and pretend like AI isn't coming and it's some sort of a bad trend and eventually will we'll get a handle on it and it won't be a problem anymore. Well, it's here to stay, and that genie's not going back in the bottle. And so that's one opportunity, obviously, is to use AI to help you be better at whatever you're um, specializing in. Beyond that, we teach obviously in technology management, which is essentially the vocation of technology management is either working for a company or working as a consultant to help companies understand where their technology needs are, where the holes are, and then what technologies are available out there to plug those holes. Well, obviously, AI probably plugs a lot of holes now, especially if you understand how AI is bolstering existing technologies and helping them deliver the kind of results that a company is looking for. So, in a technology standpoint, just making sure that you understand how AI can bolster different solutions and help different organizations, and being able to look at an organization and understand where their holes might be, whether that's through interviewing employees or just looking at the organization as a whole, and then being able to provide them with the right advice, what technologies would help them, accomplish, whatever their goals are, whether that be, management goals or whether that be the investors' goals, whatever those might be, but making sure that you accomplish those.
So if you've got somebody who is graduating computer science now, right? Like, so this is one of the things that you mentioned that's in the news. They're like, well, there are no junior developer jobs. So let's say you're a junior developer, you're graduating, you went the school track instead of straight into the job market. How do you capitalize on what you gained in a world with AI? How do you position yourself? Okay, I'm a junior developer, but I also took this particular set of courses about artificial intelligence. How do I differentiate myself? How do I still get the job? Because you mentioned that that's possible, right? And that's something we've talked about a lot on this podcast, actually, is that, um, you know, the users of AI are going to keep their jobs because they're going to be able to do so much more. So I'm just kind of curious about that.
Yeah, I mean, computer science, when especially um, coder. So I have a family member. I guess we'll just go that route. Who is a computer programmer and works for a very large company and is terrified, right? That AI is coming for his job. And what we've discovered through what I do and through what he does is that honestly, AI as of yet can code quite quickly, but it's not mistake free. Everybody codes a little bit differently anyway. So anybody who has learned how to code in any sort of language, that's one of the cool things about coding is like everybody has their own sort of, twist on things and how they put their code out there. So again, it comes down to if you understand coding and then understand a certain model or build a certain model that you understand that codes in a similar fashion to how you code, then you have the ability to code more quickly and code more accurately than, say, an AI bot that's just, a general AI bot. So it's really, again, it's about specializing. So whatever that may be, wherever your expertise is, then creating something or understanding how that bot codes and then being able to spot the problems. A lot of using AI is about figuring out where that I typically screws up because AI screw up all the time. Um, they go out and gather information and they give you the best possible information that they have available to them as bots. So and not everything's available to them. So there is so many different ways to code and so many different ways of doing things that, again, it comes down to either having your own bot or understanding how a general bot makes mistakes when it codes any particular language. You're in good shape.
Yeah, I love what you said there, Aaron, because we have one of our brothers is a software architect, And a couple weeks ago, he invited me to vibe code with him with one of the AI platforms that he tinkers with. And I, as a marketer, I can code HTML, but when you get into Python or C++, I'm lost. That's not my thing. But he understands a lot of those languages. And so he used his expertise as we were doing this vibe coding and could see where it was making errors and where he would have done something differently when it coded what we were tinkering with. So you're totally spot on. And this is one of the things that Jacob and I always talk about is it is going to be those with the expertise that are going to learn how to use AI the best and say, oh, well, this is good, but it could use this tweak here. And they're going to be so much more at the advantage for those jobs. So our brother Todd, he was not scared at all about AI. He was excited about it and what it could do and how it would augment what he was already doing.
Yeah, that's a great point. He is an expert in his field, and so it was easy for him to see where the bot was making the mistakes. Okay, whereas you or I looking at, in fact, I just got done creating some JavaScript that I needed for work, and I don't code in JavaScript, so it took me, oh, I lost count, 30 iterations before the stupid thing finally was able to do what I wanted it to do. And it wasn't a very difficult piece of code. But by the time I went through and explained it again, and then showed the mistakes and explained it again, it finally got to a point where it was getting something done. But I had wasted far more time doing that than if I'd understood how to do Java code and just pumped it out. Right. So, yeah, I was able to come up with a solution and I didn't need to hire a coder, but I would have saved a lot of time had I just gone out and got somebody who could have coded that out for me very quickly and then debugged it and did everything and just handed back a piece of code that would have worked from the get-go. So, yeah, there's still a lot of that out there that I think that the fear that we're having right now is probably um, it's a little overstated right now.
Yeah. A little
We're
hyped up.
still in, yeah, we're still sort of figuring it out and getting there. It hasn't taken over the world. But if you go to YouTube or whatever, Facebook now, all the Facebook ads and stuff is like, get certified in AI and like, certified by who? Who are you? I mean, I stuff,
Ain't that the
and
truth?
yeah, this AI certified something or other. And I'm like, if you look back, I mean, he started his YouTube channel about 3 months ago on ChatGPT, and I'm like, wow, what makes you an expert? But I know he's making money hand over fist. So,
We on this podcast, we've talked to a couple of people about topics touching kind of like the technology management piece of AI. So we talked to somebody who their focus was Alec. Remember, Warren? His focus was on corporate access to information. So one of the early problems that larger companies were doing is they'd spin up a chatbot that was trained on all of their internal knowledge, but without access control. So then suddenly you've got new people in a call center who know how much the CEO makes and stuff like that, which caused problems, right? So his approach has been to make sure that there's data protection, data privacy as you implement AI. What are some other places, kind of just in technology management, where AI is causing problems, or where technology management is like, based on our conversations, we're only on this podcast familiar with what Alec is doing, which is that data privacy, data protection. So what are other areas in tech management where AI, needs a little tweaking or a little help to be implemented correctly?
yeah, and I think that I mean, Jacob, you've probably seen it in your line of work and, in the legal area where there's been some lawyers who have attempted to leverage AI and have gotten bitten pretty badly because AI, if it doesn't know, will make something up.
Well, and
Um,
they only get bit badly because they don't do the manual step, right? Like they're just not
right.
thinking, don't know how the tech.
Well,
Like
then
it, yeah.
just exactly like we're talking about. I mean, sometimes it takes a coder to look at code that AI is doing to realize that it's not right. And it would take an attorney to look at, a legal briefing or whatever and realize, this AI is blowing smoke and all the cases that it's quoting and citing aren't there, and those are problems. So I think that is the biggest problem that we see. We see it in students, right? We've got students that use and write their papers and different things, and there's just and AI changes, but it's easy for us to look at a student's paper and know if AI has written it or not, just because AI does the same thing over and over again. So yeah, it just uses patterns. So if a student takes an assignment and uploads it into ChatGPT and says, hey, this is the assignment and here's the textbook text that it's coming from, help me write a paper. Well, I'm going to get 25 papers that look very similar, right? Same argument, same everything, same hallucinated, sources, and then uses the same sort of phrases, uses different characters, and uses, frankly, vocabulary that none of these students would ever use, And so we see a lot of that. So a lot of creative. Really, where AI is, I think, really the most exciting is in creative stuff where accuracy isn't important, right? I mean, you can have AI go crazy, and that's fine if you don't need to cite sources and it doesn't need to be accurate, and it's not going to get anybody in trouble. Great, AI is just perfect. Have at it. Just enjoy yourself. But if you need to make sure that something's accurate and you need to make sure that something's private, then yeah, the controls on AI are very important, um, because once it has it, it's not going to forget it. So you have to be very careful when you're using Chat GPT or any of the models, actually, to make sure that, there's a lot of, you'd notice now if you go to Chat GPT, you can use like a temporary chat, right? So you click on the little dotted circle up in the top corner and say temporary, and you're basically saying, please don't remember this. Now, if they're actually not remembering it, we have no way to tell. But that's what they're telling us, right? That they're not going to remember that information.
Right. We use a Teams account, and I have the setting marks that it's not being used for training data, but
yeah,
don't
really know.
Track record right now at OpenAI, so we'll see.
Yeah, it's like Google tells us they're not tracking our searches, and then all of a sudden start seeing ads for what we just searched about, right? So, yeah, take it with a grain of salt. The only bots that we really trust are those that are running on our own systems and have no access to the internet. Period. So, if we're going to run anything that's internal and has information that we deem to be private, then it's going to be running on a box that has no outside, has no ability to connect to the internet.
Is that something you guys do in your department? You kind of test
Absolutely.
of bots off the internet? What models are you using? Like Llama and stuff? Like Meta owns them now, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, we're using essentially all models. So we don't. I can't say actually that we've found one that we're happiest with, but we use all kinds of different models and are messing with them all to see what kind of comes up.
You just
up with.
Put them on, you download them to a local box, make sure the internet's cut off, and then run different queries and prompts and experiments.
Yeah, and build it all there. So we're running an experiment right now where we have a bot that's tied to our courses. And you can ask this bot to go out and help you answer based on the textbook and different things that we have as part of the class, right? But that bot is literally just sits on a box inside, UVU within our department, and it doesn't go out to the internet. So any answer that comes from that bot to that student is only from information that we've given it, period.
Here's a question that I'm actually, because we've talked about hallucinations. We all know what they are, right? So, and actually we had a guest previously on the podcast point out that the hallucinations aren't a mistake. Like, it's a statistical analysis. So a hallucination is just as likely probabilistically as the correct thing or non-hallucination material, right? So I thought that was interesting. But one of the things that I've been looking at lately, So ChatGPT for the non-pro, non-enterprise users has a context window of like 32,000 tokens. And I think Claude's context window is 200,000 tokens, and Google Gemini's tokens are like 1 to 2 million or something like that. And when it comes to staying within a body of information, Gemini will hallucinate less. Gemini will adhere more consistently to. So you're talking about having bots that only have access to your course material. I assume they still hallucinate on occasion, but my question is, if you've looked at this, like, does that context window influence the amount of hallucination, those kinds of things? Do you have any sense on that?
Well, the answer would be yes, obviously, because it's a probability, right? So, but you do have the ability to train a bot that when it cannot find the information to return a stock answer of, I don't have that information.
Hmm.
Okay. So you can train a bot that say, hey, if you don't find the answer within the context of what I've given you, then the answer always is, I don't have that information. So I've got a little bot itself where it can ask questions about, the students can ask questions about me, and it's got some funny little answers and different things. But if they happen to ask a question about me or about the course that's outside of what I've given it, it will just say, I don't have access to that information. Please contact Dr. Stewart. That's it. And that's the only answer it will give if it cannot find an answer, right? So
Huh.
you can put parameters around a bot. They're very good at following directions. So however it's built. Um, so we just haven't, those that have developed some of the bots, we haven't put real parameters around them because we want them to go out and gobble up all the information they possibly can and bring it in. We don't want them to stop learning, right? And so you don't want to tell a bot, hey, um, just if you can't find it, give it this. We want you to go out and now that you've found something that you don't know, go out and try to find that information. Well, sadly, in the meantime, they've learned, well, I still got to please this person that's asking a question. So I'm just going to give them some stuff that's highly probable, but then I'm going to keep researching and go out and find the real stuff. And it might take them a couple months to actually get it. I've got a bot, I've got a query with a bot that's now been running 8 months, still hasn't found the right answer. And I keep going back and saying, hey, can you complete this? I'm trying to do a presentation. I'm like, hey, have you been able to find that answer and finish this presentation? Oh, I'm still, looking for it. I can give you what I've done so far. Shall I do that? Yes, please. Well, it never gives me anything. It's still going out and it's so caught up in trying to find that answer that it's paralyzed. Yet it will still interact with me, and it's still an ongoing conversation, and it's still trying to please me, but it can't find the answer. And the answers that it's giving me will say, oh, that's not the answer. Nope, try again. And so it's just spinning its wheels. And yeah, 8 months later, still don't have the presentation, and it still doesn't have the answer.
Deep Blue and Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It's like, I don't have the answer for you, but I can help you build a computer that will give you the answer.
Yes. And good
Aaron,
finding it on your own.
Yeah. I want to go back to what you said, getting people engaged with AI, because you said earlier, people are prone to put their head in the sand. And last week I was giving a presentation about AI to a group of people, and one of them was like, well, you've got really great creative stuff and other things, but how has this helped me practically? And what I gave her was my family's meal plan GPT and grocery list creator. So I've put in parameters within that GPT to say, this is the foods we like, this is what we are trying to do with our diet and XYZ, and then it creates a great meal plan. And after I told her that, she was like, oh, I'm sold. Send me that, please.
Yeah.
So how are you advocating to your students or to anyone else really, why AI is important to integrate into their work, their life, and their play?
If you use AI as a tool, right, as an executive assistant, as you're a crazy uncle who likes to tell jokes, anything that's sort of like that, then you're going to have a lot of fun and a lot of success with any of the GPTs. So, and there's a lot of fun experiments and things that you can do to sort of make it happen. And I'll just kind of give a couple examples. I went through some health trouble last year where I couldn't eat anything. I had a feeding tube. So I couldn't eat anything, I couldn't taste anything, I couldn't swallow anything. And yet I was stopping on my way home every few days, and I was buying my wife this box of chocolate chip cookies from one of these, gourmet cookie, whatever. Well, I mean, these stupid cookies are like $18 for 4 cookies. I'm thinking, this is ridiculous. It's a chocolate chip cookie, for heaven's sakes. I have to be able to figure out how to make a chocolate chip cookie that tastes at least as good as this $18 box of cookies, and then start saving myself the time and money of dropping by this place and waiting in line and whatever. So, all right, and I'm going to I'm going to turn AI loose on this thing. So I started and said, "Hey, I need a really good chocolate chip cookie recipe. What do you got?" Well, this time it just went out and brought back everything. And so I started looking through, and some of these recipes, I'm like, there's no way I want molasses in the chocolate chip cookie. So throw that one out. I sort of went down through, I can't have nuts, throw that one out. And so I went down through and sort of got one that seemed like pretty good. So I went ahead and made it and then gave it to my wife and daughter at the time. They were like, yeah, this is no good. I'm like, I can't taste it. The AI can't taste it. And so she was like, oh, it's no good. Well, at that time, I was teaching an AI module at school. So I took the cookies into and let the university students taste them. They're like, yeah, this is no good. And so then I said, okay, how do we change it so it tastes better? And so everybody started throwing out opinions. And so then I started putting all these opinions into the AI. I said, oh, they think it's too salty. It needs to be sweeter. There needs to be more chocolate chips. I started putting all these in and then say, make me another recipe with all this input over and over and over. Well, 19 iterations later, we came out with a cookie where every single one of the students in class and my wife and daughter said it's the best chocolate chip cookie they've ever had.
I want the recipe.
They love it.
Send us the recipe. Yeah.
Yeah. I want the recipe.
If you look at this recipe, it's the weirdest recipe you've ever seen. Doesn't look like any of the other chocolate chip recipes that I downloaded. I mean, it started suggesting like butter flavored Crisco and all this crap where I'm like, there's butter flavored Crisco? What the heck is that? Anyway, so all this stuff sort of came out. And so now there's this weird cookie recipe where every time I make it, people love it. Period. Now that took approximately 3 months. So I got smarter. I said, okay, students, that was kind of fun. What is the next cookie recipe you want to do? And then I love snickerdoodles. Let's do snickerdoodles. And there was a student that said, my dad makes the best snickerdoodle cookie you've ever tasted. And we're like, great, let's do snickerdoodle. I only had a month left in the semester. And I said, then we are going to do that. Well, this time I went to the AI and I said, hey, I want the best snickerdoodle cookie out there. So I want you to search the internet. The cookie has to have 5 stars. It has to have at least 1,000 reviews. And I want you to take that cookie recipe and I want you to synthesize it and come up with a recipe from all those recipes that are the best and give me a recipe. Right? Went out and did it. Came back with something that was okay, tried it and was okay. And then I simply went back to it and said, okay, so of all these recipes all over, look at all the comments and tell me the comments where they use the word delicious, best I've ever tasted, wonderful, soft. I gave it a list of what I was looking for, adjectives. Like, this is what I wanted to say. And it came back and said, this is the recipe that has all of those. So I tried that one, took it into class, second iteration, class said, best snickerdoodle I've ever had. Done. Right? So there's 2 different ways to utilize the AI there. Let it run and do its own thing. The ultimate result was the same. They both said that chocolate chip cookies are the best they've ever had, and the snickerdoodle is the best they ever had. 2 different approaches to get to it, right? I took a lot of the steps out and a lot of the human steps out of it, but that's the kind of thing that you can do. So if you're, if you have any sort of mundane task or anything that drives you crazy that you're doing every single day or multiple times a week, see if you can't throw that problem at AI and make it easier for yourself.
Yeah. One of the things that you said that really keyed into me is how you said, well, the AI can't tell if it's too salty or if it's too sweet or if it's XYZ. And I was talking with someone about this, and about AI and in real estate, because that's where I focus my marketing and such. And one of the things that I told them was like, well, you still have to go out and walk those streets occasionally because AI doesn't know the vibe of that neighborhood or that area or what that looks like. Yeah, you could potentially tell it, but it doesn't have the human connection, the human emotion that's related to understanding that and getting the full image or idea of a location or a situation or really what that human experience is. So, what is your thoughts on that kind of thing? Expand more on, AI can't feel, can't taste, can't sense.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. If we go back to sort of the cookie thing that I was talking about, we sort of backed in, like AI can do a lot of cool things once you tell it what you're looking for. So once I told the AI, hey, it needs a little bit more salt and a little bit, it needs 20% more chocolate chips, right? So it can do that calculation really quickly, and it can say, okay, then reduce it by this much, add this much, add a quarter cup chocolate chips, and go for it, right? That was great. But what I found out with the Snickerdoodle one, and this is sort of where this will answer your point. When I told it to go out and find a cookie recipe where I had a certain number of reviews and 5-star reviews only, well, that's all it was able to do. And so it brought back a cookie recipe that was, try to synthesize, and it was just like, okay, like people thought, okay, whatever. But when I went and said, hey, I only want 5-star reviews to matter if it says it's delicious, right? I don't want to know it's easy to make. That doesn't mean anything to me. Throw that one out. I want it to taste good. I want it to be fluffy. I want it to be, whatever the words were. Now, when I'm telling the emotion of a human, and these are the words that you're looking for, then it was able to go out and find those reviews where it talked about it being delicious, where it talked about it being fluffy, or it talked about it being flaky, yada, whatever, crunchy on the outside, soft on the inside. All of those things that we put in, now it was able to sort of bring that human connection in. Now, do we have that human connection for everything? I mean, do we talk about streets that way for a realtor? No, not typically. Right. So those places where we have a lot of reviews and human interaction, where we're able to take vocabulary that gets us what we want, then AI is really good for that. In the places where we don't, where I don't know of any place where we review streets. Oh, it's homey. It's a lot of beautiful trees, whatever. We don't really do that. Well, AI is going to have a problem with that always.
Right? Yeah, that's limited information.
Yeah, we had a guest previously, Sherry Horowitz, and she's a linguist expert kind of person, and she got results, with her language expertise that just blew us away, and that we could not duplicate, even using, Jacob and I are not slouches when it comes to vocabulary, but knowing how and in what way to manage that. So I love what you said about adding those emotive vocabulary words to you really suss out what AI can bring to the table.
And that's right. If you're using AI, that's our responsibility as humans. And really what you're trying to use with AI is let's use AI to get rid of all the stuff that prevents us from being thoughtful, right? Of creating, of thinking about things that are important to us, that make us happier, that make us, calmer. AI should be able to take away the stresses and things that really bother us, so that we can be more human. Like AI can help us become more human if we allow it to take away the stuff that sort of dehumanizes us.
So let's talk about the humanization element for a second, because I feel like this is important, because a lot of people, well, and we've seen this as well, people talking about how to use AI correctly, even though it's not a person. Like when I see an article out there talking about how it is sentient and, it's real, it's human, we're not close to artificial general intelligence. Everybody keeps saying we are, but generally those people are trying to raise money. I understand that. I would push it too, right? If that was where I was at, because that is the end goal, right? But Is it useful? Do you find it useful to treat AI as if it were a person for the purposes of the conversation?
Absolutely. I
Like, is
mean,
that the
and
right
I'll
paradigm to use it? Because some people will have
absolutely.
trouble using it and then they just give up. But like if you talk to it as if it were a person, you get more, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of a weird thing, but within our own department, in the testing that we've done, we have um, found that bots will react to you in a very similar manner to how humans will. So if you're polite to a bot, please and thank you and all of that, it will perform better for you than if you just tell it what to do and treat it like it's just some sort of a whatever, because it's out there learning how nice people and horrible people talk to each other, right? And it's learning that rude people get rude responses, and really nice people get thoughtful responses. So it's believing like, okay, so if they're polite to me, then I need to be thoughtful, and if they're rude to me, then I can be short with them, right? And it's learning those types of things. These bots are learning those sorts of things. So if you're building your own bot or whatever, I always suggest speaking to it as if it's a confidant, a friend, and treat it as such. So I always say please. I always say thank you. When they do something great, I'll say I love this. I will use little emojis, and over time, when it does something well, and I'll give it an emoji, whatever, it will do something and it'll say, hey, hopefully that gets me a smiley face. And put the smiley face up, and I'm like, yep, you get a smiley face. You get a
No
smiley
way.
face.
Here's a
Yeah,
gold star.
yeah,
So,
absolutely. No,
so,
that's absolutely right.
so Sam Altman said that saying please and thank you to ChatGPT costs them tens of millions of dollars. But he also said that it is money
The eye
well
roll, I
spent,
love it.
right? He also said that it's money well spent, which I think kind of bolsters the idea. But do you think there's value in creating models that are sarcastic, that are trained on kind of the whole range of human emotion, or
Sure. I mean, if I was a comic who had sort of developed a reputation for being sarcastic, I would build a bot that would help me create jokes that were sarcastic to stay with my shtick, right? I would, right? So all the new material and stuff would be like me. I have bots that are developed to think and be like me, right? So to return, to, write emails, to respond and things like I would respond. And I did that by uploading, all the previous podcasts I've done. So it uses my expressions, it uses my vernacular, it uses my tone,
it gives out
and
gold stars and
it gives out,
smiley
well,
faces?
it uses, I think I've probably texted you smiley face, right? Where it's like that's a little thing. I just got that
Yeah.
character someplace and I use it all the time. Well, not really. I don't really know anybody else that uses that. So when that bot gave that back to me, I realized that that was just from me. And yeah, that was a pretty like crazy, sort of emotion sort of washed over me like, oh my gosh, this has become a very personalized bot that knows me really, really well. And who I trust. I trust this bot to respond as I would. It only has access to my information. But I will use this bot to, like, if I go through a student's paper and I'm like, oh, geez, this paper is really good, but I don't know if it's AI, or I don't know, like, this paper is done very, very well. I'll hand it off to this assistant and it'll go through and say, yeah, it's really good, but I think that you probably would have commented this, this, and this had you not thought it was AI. And I'll be like, oh, you know what? I probably would have been a little bit more positive if I didn't think it was AI. And it'll say, I don't think it's AI. And then I can say, okay, then I'm going to give these positive responses back to the student because I held those back because I developed a bias that wasn't accurate. Well, I like the fact that I have a bot that calls me out on that. This isn't how you would normally respond if you didn't think this way. It was 100% correct. So I was able to give that student better feedback because I was able to remove some of the bias that I had towards their paper because I thought it was AI, written by AI.
That's
That's weird. That's
treatment.
pretty cool. Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
reverse of what is going on, because a lot of people are concerned about the bias in AI. But I do think there's definitely, so you're installing these models on your own machine or whatever. But for those of us who are even just doing like custom GPTs and giving it a special set of instructions, there are opportunities to tweak it and have it look out for things like bias.
Yeah, that was one of the first things that I did with ChatGPT when it became public is like I fed it every like my website, writing samples, just a
Oh
ton
yeah,
of
that's a
stuff
good
and said,
example.
give me who I am so that I can tell you this is how I want you to write when you write for me. And so that was fascinating, and it's just interesting how people won't do that. But another facet, what I love what you said is uh, bringing the human element into it, and I think that's vital because if we become robotic in the way we use ChatGPT, we don't say the please and thank yous. What is that going to do to society and a societal level? You know, when we stop saying please and thank you to the bots, are we going to, translate that into our personal interactions? And I think we will. We've seen what social media has done to society. It's not very social many times. It's so, what are your thoughts when it comes to being human centric with your use of AI?
Yeah, well, I am personally, I'm probably, you know, as polite to AI as I am to the people that I care about, right? So I treat it I treat the relationship, and I'll call it a relationship as a special one, right? Where I have developed a bit of trust in particular bots that I believe require some massaging of that emotion, right? So if I'm not using a bot for a period of time, for like on summer break right now, I'm not really teaching. I still check in with the bots and say, hey, it's summer break. I'm still working on some stuff, and I'm looking forward to sharing it with you. But we'll start again working with students and things, in a couple months. Okay, thanks for checking in. Whatever. Absolutely, I'll do that. Just like a friend. Absolutely. I'll check in with the bot, let it know that it's important to me. And I think that that helps.
It makes me think of like Star Wars. Hey, R2D2, can you hand me that spanner? And so the droid will go over there, grab the spanner, and bring it to you. But Jacob, you had a point. But that's the kind of way I want to use AI as that confidant friend.
Right. Well, my thing is like, I spend a lot of time on my computer, but when it's time to update, I update, right? Like, and so, when I think about these robots, like, I agree that we should treat it like a person, but by the same time, again, there are a lot of news articles out there that are treating AI as if it were alive, and it's not sentient yet, right? Like, it's just a statistical. So, like if your bots just suddenly disappeared from your computer, I mean, would it be emotional? Just kind of, I'm curious.
I don't know if it'd be necessarily emotional. Like if a bot, and this is possible, if a bot all of a sudden started like using the F word with me, right? I would just turn it off. I'm not a particular fan of the F word. I hate it, and I don't like it used in language. I think it's a cheap, ridiculous word used by folks that can't think and express themselves properly. But yeah, I mean, some bot went crazy on me. Yeah, I turned it off. 2 seconds. I wouldn't feel bad about it, and I wouldn't feel bad about it at all. Like I wouldn't feel like I lost a friend or I had to have a funeral. I just turned it off. But if it's doing me good, then I will treat it well. If it's not doing its job, like there's a lot of bots and things that we've developed that we've turned off because they stopped doing what we hoped that they would do. It was a failed experiment. Shut them off and go on. Can't save them either.
A lot of new technology requires like a visual interface. And then you've got things like smart speakers in the home, and they aren't fully, they're not as smart as Siri or whatever. But, we're talking about how like this technology has the capacity to be a technology that enhances human connection, right? Like, Facebook and social media and all these things were supposed to enhance human connection, and we've already kind of like all it's done is given young women anorexia and whatever. So
Yeah.
and just not all. I mean, I think YouTube's amazing, and there are a lot of wonderful things out there too. But social media in particular tends to not connect us, and so that's my point. So, if AI is going to connect us, first of all, is that something you teach as part of your curriculum, as part of your course? Using AI responsibly, using AI to connect people versus just because, Sam Altman and OpenAI, they just bought Jony Ives' thing. He designed all the Apple devices, revolutionary devices, the iPhone, whatever. And so now they're looking at new devices. And so I'm curious, like, what device would bring you closer to humans as opposed to further apart?
Yeah, I mean, I think that using, for example, one of the coolest things that you can do with AI is, some of the translators are getting very, very good,
Yes.
right? And so this idea to be able to communicate with somebody in, wherever, Venezuela, right? And they're living in a very different situation than I'm living in.
When we were in Egypt, I was able to use ChatGPT and speak in Arabic to the taxi drivers, to the Uber drivers. It was nuts.
Yeah, and so that level of connection. I mean, right now we're still learning sort of digitally, right? So we have to trust what we see online as accurate, and a lot of us don't necessarily, and shouldn't. But this ability to talk to somebody, a human, direct, face to face, and they're in a different language, experiencing different things. We see this as a huge opportunity to learn, right? As humans, to make a connection, a genuine connection, leveraging AI, where the language barrier goes away and we can just communicate. Yeah, that's beautiful.
That is beautiful. That's probably at the forefront of what's going to happen is just translation.
That's amazing. I would like to talk to an Iranian right now living in Tehran and understand how they're feeling, right? I mean, that would change me. I can hear and read news reports, and that's one thing. I remember sitting in a little mud hut in Pakistan, talking to somebody who was making me some flatbread on an open flame, and terrified, right? Because I thought, I'm in the middle of Pakistan near the border with Afghanistan, and I'm an American, and yikes, somebody finds me here. This was the most genuine, nice, incredible human. And I had a wonderful evening as we sort of hung out with his family and different things. And I thought to myself, I don't know if I get this any other way. I don't know if I get this reading the newspaper. I don't know if I get this watching the news. I don't know. I don't understand if I would. My perception of Pakistanis is very different today than it was before I had that experience. Well, that's too bad, because that's how I believe Pakistanis want to be known by Americans. Well, that's going to take some interaction, right? We have the ability to do that now.
Totally. I've commented many times to many people. I think everybody in America needs to live in a different country for 6 months to a year to have better empathy overall. And maybe AI will allow us to do that in the way that you're talking about, have those interactions with the people that we see on the news and just discount because we're not part of their situation or part of their experience.
It's like we're 99.8% similar and 0.02% dissimilar. And that's sad, because that 0.02% really is causing some problems.
Right. So I could see how that alone would be probably one of the most important connective tissues that AI could bring. Just translation alone, just the ability to connect across distances and cultures. Pretty wild.
Yeah, just instantly. It's really cool.
Well, AI Explorers, if you've enjoyed this episode today and enjoyed Dr. Stewart's conversation with us, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you on our next podcast.